evening and welcome in Focus on Whitewater Community Television's WGTV Channel 11. I'm Eric Marsh, Executive Director of WCTV. Glad you're able to join us for this hour-long conversation with a couple of guests, only one sitting here at the moment. Valerie Shaffer, President and CEO of the EDC, is with us, and we will be joined a little bit later in the show by Chad Bolser, Chancellor of Ivy Tech, Richmond, Connorsville. And we'll talk economic development, education, manufacturing, all land, a whole bunch of different things. Want to remind you that the school is starting in areas around us and very, very quickly. Bus etiquette. Remember that little red arm that goes out and asks you to stop. You have to remember to stop. You have to remember that there will be kids out, some of them very young, who don't always look both ways. So you need to kind of look for them. So as that comes up, the school's getting in place, we want to remind you to be on the lookout for our youngsters. And also, before we get much farther beyond that, I won't be here next week. Want to wish best of luck to all of our area bands as they will be competing soon in State Fair Band Day. Lots of things going on in the area. The back to school football season starts. Summer is coming to an end, and that's a horrible thing to say the 1st of August, isn't it?
Yes.
Summer is coming to an end. School starting this early. That's absolutely incredible.
It's not what I'm used to when I grew up.
It's not what I'm from suburban Chicago. It was after Labor Day when we started on a regular basis. So getting used to it. Valerie, I appreciate you being able to come hang out with us.
Of course. I love the opportunity. It's always a lot of fun.
I want to start with the new digs that you all have moved into. You had been in the same location for a period of time. You are now in the Depot District, in the Depot itself. First of all, what is that like? That's a building, when I got here in 1988, there was nothing in and hadn't been anything in for a long period of time. And honestly, I was beginning to wonder whether there would ever be anything in it. It is now up, running, a couple of different tenants. How is it in that location for you?
It's fantastic. You know, I've worked for the EDC going on 12 years now, and Wayne Bank has been our home, and Wayne Bank was the home of the EDC for the last 24 years, and they were a great landlord. We were very happy in that location, but when Better Homes and Gardens approached us about the opportunity to move into the Depot to be one of the first tenants, and ended up being the first tenant since the building was vacated in the 1970s, you know, it was just a great opportunity to be a part of the resurgence of the Depot building itself and a part of the greater Depot district. So being in an older building and new construction, both individually bring their challenges. So combined, you know, we've had a few challenges, you know, things that have occurred that we didn't expect, like a leaky window, you know, small things like that we're experiencing, but that are being repaired. And we're just so happy to be down there. The welcoming from all of the merchants in the area has been enormous. Everyone's happy to see us down there. And we're anxious for Better Homes and Gardens to get in the building as well and see more activity there. What
were some of the reasons for making that move into that location? I think some people could have seen kind of a streetscape, a place for you all with your own signage right there on the street. Why the Depot District?
Well, every time our lease was up at Wayne Bank, we would always get some pressure just to make sure that, you know, we're in the right location, that we, you know, could find somewhere maybe with some better visibility. Of course, cost is always an issue. Now, the cost ended up being a wash, but when you talk about the EDC, I feel like we need to have a better presence and have a storefront, so to speak, and the Depot gives us that opportunity to be more accessible to the greater public, our stakeholders. And, you know, the Depot itself, it's just architecturally very cool. To me, it presents a great image to visitors for the first time coming to Richmond, Wayne County. Anytime I host a visitor, I would always take them on a tour of the Depot District and downtown, and everyone was just thoroughly impressed about the redevelopment occurring down there. So for us to be in the heart of that activity, where we have commercial activity around us, we have industrial around us, we have the railroad and US 27, and, you know, we're close to the interstate still. So to me, it just presented a great opportunity for us to have a fresh start in a new building.
How is it when you're on the phone and that train goes by and the whistle blows? Do you actually hear it?
I hear it, but I haven't heard anyone on the other end who's heard it. But lucky for us, at our old location at Wayne Bank, we were right behind fire station number 1, the busiest fire station in town. So constantly the fire trucks were going out and the sirens were going off. And so we're kind of used to that short noise interruption.
Okay.
Yeah.
Want to kind of catch up on a couple of projects that were announced to fairly big fanfare a little over a year ago now. The first one was Omen Casting. How has their progress come along?
Actually, it's going great. I was just visiting the plant about 3 weeks ago, and I'd say probably about a third of their equipment has been installed, and they've hired 17 employees now.
Okay.
They're still ramping up their production employees. They're not going to start production until 2018, but they're getting to the point where they have enough equipment that they can start running test products and prototypes that they can show to their customers and start to perfect here in the U.S. as they've done at their other locations worldwide.
For those that weren't here, and there's a number of people that we've had move in and out of the area, what is Omen Casting? Who are they? What do they do?
So Omen Casting is an Israeli company, and they are a high-pressure aluminum die casting company. So they make parts for the automotive industry. Dana is one of their biggest customers out of Ohio. And so they're producing parts that go to Dana that then go to the original equipment manufacturers of the automobiles throughout the United States.
Okay. The other one, obviously, that was really big news, got announced here in this studio. We appreciate that.
Yeah.
Blue Buffalo. If you drive in from Indianapolis or any place to the west as you're coming in, you see that they are moving along with that construction. That's a huge building.
Yes, it's definitely a sight to see. So if you haven't been out there, you should drive by the Midwest Industrial Park right off of I-70. It's on the corner of Round Barn and Gar Jackson Road, and you can get there from Industries. But they are in the process of building a 400,000 square foot manufacturing, R&D, and distribution facility. They're investing around $147 million in that plant and plan to employ 165 people. So construction is slated to wrap up. They estimate March, maybe out to May of 2018,
Okay.
but they're actually starting their hiring plans now. We are in the process of planning a community event for them so they can educate the public on the types of jobs that they will have available and then how to prepare for an upcoming job fair in October. They want to have 100 people hired by December, so they have a lot of work to do.
By December of?
2017. Yes, so
By December of 2017?
Yes, so between...
Merry Christmas to us, huh?
Yeah, between October and December, 100 people will be hired on.
Wow, that's great. I didn't realize it was going to go that fast. I expected by looking at it, things obviously would go into 18, but I assume there's a training plan that they have and things of that nature that they have to put into effect.
Absolutely. Some of the employees will go to their other plant in Joplin, Missouri to be trained and then come back and train the rest of the team members. But there's a lot to learn in a new plant like that. You know, everyone will have to get used to the new equipment. They have a lot of specialized equipment that's on special order that is like nothing else in the United States.
Okay. It's impressive, even without the signage, and I think by the time they're done and the signage goes up, it's really going to be something to see. Now, obviously, in the Palladium item yesterday, there's still acquisition going on for the roadway that has to be taking place. There was a lot of conversation about how that was going to move. Does it seem like that's going to be on track and ready for them? The widening of Gar Jackson Road.
Yes, we believe that it will stay on track.
Okay. As you are looking out into the future, a couple of things that kind of jump out that I think we need to talk about just a little bit. One is our unemployment rate seems to be very low. It was announced at 3%. Everybody says there's always a little fudge room in those numbers, but even if it's close to that, how does a company like Blue Buffalo, Omen, people that you may be talking to that are trying to come in, where do we find the workers for organizations like that? If they're going to hire 100 people between October and December of this year, okay, now the unemployment rate kind of continues to drop. What does that do to you being able to go out and talk to other businesses coming in?
You know, it does present a challenge, honestly, but when you're getting into a situation where our unemployment rate is as low as it is, when a new company comes in town, a lot of times that's when they start stealing from existing businesses. So it's the incumbent workers who are looking to get in on the ground floor at a new company and go to work. So it's not just, their labor pool isn't just from those unemployed, it's from the existing workforce. But then they're pulling from far away as well. You know, the plant manager and their HR manager are relocating here, so they have to look near and far to get the talent that they need to be successful. And in terms of marketability for other companies looking here, yes, it's a challenge. However, it's that way across the state of Indiana. Indiana has a lower unemployment rate than all of our neighboring states. You know, we've done very well with new investment and job creation, and it's a testament to what it's like to do business here. And companies, they understand that challenge, and they're willing to take it on because they want to function here within the state of Indiana. So it's my job to work with our educational partners to talk about how we can develop the pipeline of the future workforce. So they're not just looking at, you know, what are the challenges right now in finding people, but how am I going to ensure that I have the workforce now and into the future?
As you look at some of the challenges that you have in front of you, one of them seems to be over in the western Wayne County area, where Sugar Creek Packing has run into some difficulty, we'll say, as far as how much water they can get through the Western Wayne Sewer District. Talk a little bit about how that effort came about, where it stands right now, and whether you see kind of a decent working relationship there, and why did you, your organization, as well as the commissioners and most of Wayne County, decide that Connorsville was the option that you all felt was best for the Western Wayne Sewer District?
Well, we knew from back when Sugar Creek bought that building in 2012 that the sewer plant needed to be expanded in order to accept additional capacity. So those conversations have been going on for many, many years. And we had expected to be to the point where we would already have that additional capacity now. So as Western Wayne was going through the process of determining the cost involved in expanding their plant, you know, numbers were thrown around that it would increase rates 150%. So from the county's perspective and the EDC's perspective, we're not only worried about the industrial customers, we're looking at all of the ratepayers in Western Wayne County and how that would affect the citizens. So when we heard those numbers, we thought there's got to be another option that we should explore before we invest, you know, $8 million up to $12 million possibly in a new plant. You know, we have neighboring communities, maybe there's some regionalism that could occur. So knowing that the town of Milton, who is located in Wayne County, actually connected to the Connorsville treatment system several years ago, we thought, well, if we could just get the waste to Milton, possibly then perhaps we could connect to Connorsville system. So we started down the road of just looking at what it would take to connect the system from the industrial park and the interchange, knowing that that cost would just be absorbed by commercial industrial customers to go down to Connorsville. And it was determined that the pipe from Milton to Connorsville was not large enough. We'd have to build a separate pipe. So through looking at funding mechanisms, we were told either all the waste in Western Wayne's district goes to Connorsville or it all stays in Western Wayne. So then we started looking at the cost involved in that, and when we were comparing preliminary engineering costs at that point, it was determined that we could get more capacity at a lower cost to go to Connorsville. And so for that reason is why the EDC and the commissioners and other members of Wayne County thought, well, that seems like a more viable option, right? More volume for a lower cost. Unfortunately, you know, not everyone agreed on that option. So Western Wayne has gone ahead and they're continuing to explore moving forward with the expansion of their treatment plant.
This has resulted in some hard feelings, but it's also resulted in the IURC, the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission, kind of having this dropped in their lap. I think they're being asked to kind of be the arbiters of this thing right now. And I know most of the county may be going, how or why would this affect us? it affects, I think, one, the potential growth of Sugar Creek, because that's an organization that, from everything I've heard, has continued to grow, has continued to expand, and actually wants to continue to add lines and employees.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Sugar Creek is discharging at the maximum capacity that they can now. So if they're to add another line, they're going to have to possibly ship their waste off-site to another treatment plant in order to continue to grow in this interim period. But from the EDC and the county's perspective, we are absolutely interested in gaining capacity, because at this moment in time, the EDC is unable to market the Gateway Industrial Park. And Wayne County, we've invested millions of dollars in the development of that park, and we have 2 shovel-ready certified lots currently remaining, where we would like to eventually seed tenants. And then also, you know, you have to continue to look 5, 10, 15 years down the road, and with all the investment and the infrastructure already there, it makes sense that we would like to see that park grow more than just 2 more tenants in those lots.
What kind of size are the lots that you have out there left?
One is 36 acres and the other is 47 acres. So to give you some perspective, Sugar Creek sits on 50 acres,
Okay.
and they operate a 430,000 square foot facility.
One of the things that you have suggested, I've also heard, I'll say Commissioner Powell say, and some other people in the county, is that whether this gets figured out or not, there's a need for additional land to make shovel ready. As you know, looking at Governor Holcomb touts record-breaking start to economic development in 2017, talking about 164 commitments from companies across the nation and around the world to locate or grow in Indiana. Obviously, we would hope that some of that would come this way. As we look at the land, let's say we can use those 2 lots in the industrial gate. What else is left, and how and where do we begin to grow additional land? Because that's what some of these companies are looking for, what you call that shovel-ready land.
Yeah, absolutely. The number one priority of the EDC is to ensure that we have property inventory available to market. When we receive a lead from the state of Indiana, companies always start with looking for a building or a site. And if we don't have a building or a site to propose, then we're out. We don't even get a look from that company moving forward. So it's extremely important that we have the proper inventory for diverse industry sectors, both small and large. And so right now we are fortunate we have 2 shovel-ready certified lots in Richmond currently. One is 18 acres, the other is 32 acres. And then we have some uncertified land in Richmond that's currently under city ownership that we're doing some due diligence on now to determine how we can get that certified. You can market land without it being certified, but being certified means that you've done all of the due diligence. You know exactly utility line sizes and capacities, and you've done environmental reports and soil borings, so you can present to a prospect all of the information on that site, and they can make an informed decision without making significant investments to do research themselves. Okay. So fortunate for us, we have land in Richmond to market. However, it's never enough. Like I said, we're always planning into the future. So industrial park expansion is a high priority of the EDC this year. We've actually been unsuccessful in 2 efforts to acquire some land. We either couldn't reach price terms with the landowner, or the owner was unwilling to sell in another circumstance. So we're always moving on to the next opportunity and keeping our eyes open for available land options.
Are there other amenities that we have here that make us attractive to various companies?
Well, you know, we're very fortunate to be along Interstate 70. You know, transportation costs are huge right now. And so the shortest drive time you have to get from the interstate, you know, to the company's location, and then that also is cuts down on their time to get their goods to market. You know, that's certainly an asset that we have in our favor.
Okay. The goals, the mission of the EDC. I know you talked about a little of it here. What is it that you all are actually set up, designed, and are supposed to be doing as far as what your mission lays out, and how do you do that?
Well, about 4.5 years ago, we went through a strategic planning process with over 350 stakeholders involved, where we looked at, you know, the past roles of the EDC. We looked at the roles of other organizations that are involved in economic development efforts, and we determined that there were really 3 areas of focus for the EDC. The number one priority is existing business retention and expansion. We have to make sure that our existing businesses are healthy and that they have the tools and the resources that they need to be successful and to continue to grow here in Wayne County. The second is new business attraction. So, of course, having land availability, having incentives that are available to market, having all the tools that companies look at when they're considering a new location. And then third would be workforce development, really making sure that we have the talent pipeline to support the industries that are here and that we are suited for.
Talk a little bit about your staff that actually helps make this happen.
Sure.
Because you can't be everywhere.
Yeah.
You can't talk to everybody.
Well, when it comes to business retention and expansion, Joe Henry, he is the manager of existing business and education. So he is doing a lot of the existing business outreach, meeting with companies on a regular basis to find out how they're doing, what are their challenges, how can we help alleviate those challenges, and then if there are opportunities for growth, we want to help facilitate that. He also works with our educational institutions, both K through 12 and higher education, to make sure that they're engaged in what's going on here. So they understand the industry sectors here and that we're involving industry in the educational process. He's trying to bridge that gap. So he has two very important roles within our office. And then Rene Dodi, she is the manager of community affairs. Rene does an excellent job of facilitating all of our marketing efforts. So she works with Iron Gate Creative out of Hagerstown that does all of our design work. It ensures that all of our marketing initiatives are ongoing. She makes sure that the website is up to date and that we're always looking to add to and make the necessary changes to keep up with the times. Elena Garris, she is our office manager. So Elena keeps everything running behind the scenes.
Got to have those people.
Yes, she does all of our research. So she makes sure that all of our data is up to date as possible. She is actually working very closely with the state of Indiana's data resources. So I forget what the name of it is, but we are actually a resource center for the state. So she's been trained to help people find data that they need as well.
Nice. Everybody talks about the difference between retention and expansion. Do you want to retain the businesses you have, or do you want to spend your time finding new ones? Mm-hmm. How do you balance that?
It is a balancing act because on one hand, we're trying to make sure that our existing businesses are healthy. And as part of that is to make sure they have the labor force that they need. Mm-hmm. So when we recruit a new company that is coming in and potentially stealing their employees away, it's not doing them any good doing that. Mm-hmm. However, companies do get together on a regular basis. They learn from one another. They talk about best practices. So the employer engagement piece is really important. And I would say it's always more important to take care of our existing businesses. If we're not doing a good job taking care of them, they're not going to be our advocates. A lot of times new companies, when they're looking in the area, they want to interview existing companies and find out what it's like to be here on the ground, because the last thing they want is to get all the fanfare up front and then they invest multi-million dollars into a facility and then the community forgets about them and they don't have any type of resources to rely on. So existing business retention is number one for the EDC.
As you talked a little earlier, and you talked about Connorsville, and just one of the things you talked about was kind of the region. Do we have a partner in the region? Mm-hmm. And that's become, I think, incredibly important. It always has been a little bit. I think it's been pressed more and more, and it's mm-hmm. even being pressed by the state legislature. I think they want people, communities, towns, areas to work together a little mm-hmm. bit more. You've worked together with a couple of the areas to the north of us to create a website to help businesses, students, employers. Talk a little bit about Hoosier Opportunity.
Well, Hoosier Opportunity is a collaborative effort between Jay and Randolph and Wayne counties. And we independently, our counties have realized that it's been a challenge for our job seekers to understand the job opportunities that are available. Even in a time when we have 3% unemployment, you still hear from people, there are no jobs here. And we started to realize people say that because they don't know where to go to look. If you're not familiar with the community and you move here, you don't know what companies are here, so you don't know what companies to look up. Companies use a lot of different resources to promote jobs, whether it's Monster or Indeed or Department of Workforce Development websites, or they just let walk-ins come into their facilities. You know, it's really all across the board. So we wanted to develop a streamlined process where we're making an effort to be the job resource for Wayne County and Randolph and Jay as well. So HoosierOpportunity.com is a free website where companies can create profiles and post jobs. And job seekers can create a profile, post their resume, so that they can either be searched for by companies who are looking for employees, or they can search available job opportunities. So we want it to work both ways. There's even a platform for students as well, so that they can register and indicate if they're interested in internships or job shadowing or part-time job opportunities, because again, we want to create the pipeline of the workforce. We want them to know that there are career pathways here locally for them, not only for those who aren't going to college and are going right into the workforce after high school, but also for those who are going to college locally or moving away and going to college. We want them to come back afterwards and be a part of our workforce.
We're going to talk a little bit more about education, getting some of those young people back. We're going to take a break. Actually, we're going to look at a video that was created showing people how to use HoosierOpportunity.com. You're watching In Focus on Whitewater Community Television's WGTV, Channel 11.
Hi, I'm Mayor Dave Snow.
And I'm Economic Development President Valerie Shaffer.
Today, we want to introduce to you a powerful new tool that connects students, those looking for employment, and employers in one easy-to-use hub.
It's called Hoosier Opportunity. It's a joint venture of our economic development partners along US 27 in Jay, Randolph, and Wayne counties.
If you're looking for an internship, or if you're an employer looking for great candidates to fill a position, this is your one-stop shop. And today, we're going to walk you through each step so that you can create a profile, upload your resume, find new opportunities, or if you're an employer, showcase opportunities that you have to offer.
On this site, it's all about you. That's why you can utilize the site in two ways. First, you can create an identity on the site so that employers can find you, or you can browse careers and find employers. Let's take a look at the site. Once you are on the home page, here at the top you'll find an extensive menu to help you narrow your search. You'll be able to select jobs by sector, find information about communities that surround the job, view all the job postings, and more. We encourage you to navigate these menus after you have created your employee profile, and I'll show you how to do that now. To make the site easier to use, we have given you these shortcut boxes. Go to Post Your Resume and Get Started. This is your opportunity to showcase your strengths and tell your future employer why you are right for the job. Here you'll be asked to register on the site by completing a limited number of fields that employers will be able to view and determine if you are a good fit for their company. In addition, you can simply upload your resume and apply to open positions in minutes. It's just that easy. Now that you've told us about yourself, it's time to go to the job that's right for you. Let's move back to the home page. Go to Find a Career and click Get Started. On this page, you'll be able to search for positions using keywords, job industry filters, job type filters, and your educational background. You can also select in which county you would like to see open positions. Once you've selected all of your filters, click Filter. I also encourage you to subscribe to career email notifications. That way, when you're on the go, you'll be updated to new job postings that meet your interest.
Now, we haven't forgotten about you students, so let's take a look at how students can explore Hoosier Opportunity. Let's get started. Once on the student registration page, simply complete your personal information, create a password, and select your careers of interest. You can also provide more information about yourself and why you are interested in those selected careers. We encourage you to show interest in internships, job shadowings, and if you are interested in career opportunities, you can simply select those boxes as well. Once you are finished, simply click Register, and this information will automatically be sent to your school guidance counselor so they can help you determine your best career pathway.
We've shown you how to look for opportunities. Now let's show our employers how to use the site. To get started, you need to register your company on the site. This is your opportunity as an employer to convey to job seekers the benefits of working for your company. The registration process is easy. Simply input your company's information, describe who you are and what you do, and why someone would want to work for you. Then just select your industry sector and register. After you've registered, you will be prompted to upload your logo and a picture. Then you can post the job at any time as long as that job pays $10 per hour or more. Employers can also browse existing profiles of job seekers who are currently looking for new career opportunities. You can then reach out to individuals directly by email or telephone to see if they are the right fit for your company.
And the more students, job candidates, and employer positions that are posted on the site, the more powerful of a resource this will become for our community.
This isn't just a tool for us to use in our area, but also to share with friends and family members who have moved away, to show them that there are opportunities right here at home.
And remember, if you need help in career-appropriate attire, interview skills, resume writing, or acquiring the skills necessary to move up, refer back to our Workforce Resources video that will connect you directly to the organizations that provide those services in our community. You'll find the link below. Our job market is growing, so if you need additional skills or education to capture these jobs, remember, there's still time, but there's no time to waste. Let's get to work, Richmond.
And obviously the mayor threw in his plug for Richmond residents, but as you mentioned, that's a collaboration actually across 3 counties. Is it getting much use?
It's getting a lot of use. Our Google Analytics showed that we had 5,000 users just last week, over the last 7 days,
Just last
using
week.
the site. Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
Okay. We are joined by, I wasn't going to leave you out.
Well, that's all right. No, I'm fascinated to find out how many folks are on that website. It's a great tool.
Chad Bolser, who is Chancellor of Ivy Tech, Richmond, Connorsville. Appreciate you joining. You were here a couple of weeks ago talking about RCT. You had the collar open.
That's right.
You're
yeah,
now
this
doing
is a very serious.
You're doing the official thing.
That's
now.
right. That's right. I didn't have a lapel pin on. I think we were just hanging out. You know, it was one of those casual days.
Okay.
Right? Yeah.
How are you?
Fantastic. Fantastic.
You are gearing up quickly for school. I saw the Persistence Day tweets that were going out
That's right.
yesterday,
That's
hard
right.
and heavy.
Yeah, we're obviously, with like every school, we're in that last enrollment push that we have. The term starts on August 21st, but there's no question that this has been a really interesting year, a very exciting year with President Sue Ellspermann. She's just finished her first year on board, and we have been very active in redefining, and I think just taking a serious look at what Ivy Tech means in the state of Indiana, making sure that we're focused on our mission, and I think listening to Val, it's so interesting because we know in our communities that if we are off mission, if any of us, if any of the factors are off mission, then we really are missing a segment of our population that we can't afford to at this point.
You said something that people say there aren't any jobs in the area. One of the things that he has to do with, because he's educating kind of that workforce, whether it's kids coming out of high school, going into college, just trying to get a certificate, or people going back to work, is it that people don't believe that there are jobs here in the area, or that there aren't jobs that pay enough for them to actually take them?
Well, you know, the job market has certainly changed over the years. Entry-level wages are still at that $9, $10 an hour range, and you know, you can't just come out of high school without any skills and be making $20 an hour like you could down in Vistion years and years ago. So there is skills that need to be learned. A lot of that has to do with the increase in computers and robotics and manufacturing processes. Those are certainly learned skills where you need a certain level of education, whether that's a certification from Ivy Tech or a 2-year degree. There's definitely education that has to be required in order for someone to be able to obtain those jobs.
I would mentioned earlier the governor's release that came out on the 28th about record-breaking first half of the year. He mentioned that some of the average hourly rates of the jobs that I mentioned before, $28.60 an hour, you know, $59,000 a year, and he keeps saying that those are high-wage jobs, but also some higher skilled jobs. What's your part and Ivy Tech's part? And I was there when Sue Ellspermann came through and did her tour, of connecting people to what the skills are that actually they need right now.
Yeah, I think we have it's a part of the pipeline that has been talked about here, and where we fit in there, and most of all, where would you like, as a student or a potential employee, where would you like to fit into that pipeline? I think there is a process, and the traditional process of saying, well, you complete K-12 and then you either enter the workforce or you go on to some sort of college. I think now we are needing to be very, very precise, because the workforce is demanding not only a particular level of skill, but a credential to go along with it, a certification to go along with it, to ensure that employer that you have that knowledge and that skill base in order for them to put you in charge of a machine or a line, or in a variety of different sectors. The growth and explosion of IT that is going to be the next wave of where we're going to see employment. We see it generally peaking up, but almost every sector is going to have the sector jobs and then the IT sector within that sector. And so that's going to be of exponential growth. And so what does that mean for a potential student coming out, let's say that is right now in the 10th grade, and saying, what do my next 2 years look like, and then what do my next 4 to 5 years look like? We have to be very precise in the information that we give them. And so one of the things that I'm most excited about in terms of Ivy Tech is that we've changed our process. We now have an area of our institution called workforce alignment, and we've intentionally said workforce alignment, not because we want the corporate college or the non-credit look certifications to be there, or the certifications on the credit side. We want whatever employment needs in our area, and we want to meet specific job demands. We've actually put it into quadrants on our campuses in terms of program. Do you meet the demand, and are you achieving enough credentials within your program for the 5 counties that you serve? Do you produce more than they need, than your area needs? Is there no demand at all? And if there's no demand at all, should we be offering that program? Shouldn't we be resourcing something else that can feed the demand? I think we all know that healthcare, manufacturing, IT. I mean, these are things that we all know that there is great demand in our area, and we have to be very specific. We have to be able to say, if a student comes in, I want to work in manufacturing, and I'd like to work in industrial maintenance. Here's how long your certification is going to take. Here's the wage that you can expect, and here are the number of job openings that we have, not just in Wayne County, but in all of eastern Indiana.
And that is a job that has a lot of openings right now. Just about every manufacturing employer could use someone in industrial maintenance.
And I would say this, we at our greatest capacity probably could not fill all of the jobs that are available and what will be available in the next 5 years, because as folks retire and as folks that have been in those positions have been in the job 25 years, we know that will be, retirement age does come. And
does it?
Well,
Please.
Yes,
Sorry.
no one.
I know I'm not supposed to do that.
That's
to
right.
you.
Yeah, no one can replace. No, so I think but it is a point that a segment of our population does, as our population ages, we have to be specific about what the demands are going to be in the next 6 months, a year, but in 5 years. We've got to have an honest assessment with employers, and we got to have real hard data for the students that are entering into our system, both at the community college level, but I would make the argument that this information is critical for the the 8th grader, the 10th grader, the 12th grader, and then those that go beyond the community college level into our 4-year partners. What is it that you're investing your time in? What career does it lead to? And what can you expect, not only in this region, but all over the state?
How fast does Ivy Tech need to think about making that change as they're talking to employers in the area? How fast do you look at a program, take a program, go, nope, that one's gone. That's a job of the past. It's not there. We need to spin on something new.
Yeah, I think it's not in higher education, as you well know, that is not one of our fortes, is to be particularly nimble when it comes to making those adjustments. But our community college should be. And that doesn't mean that every month you're throwing programs out and bringing programs in, but I think you have to take an assessment on an annual basis with employers, and not us in our own little echo chamber talking to each other, but what do the employers say? What does the data show? What does 5 years and the trends in that field show are going to be a part of it? Let me give you a great example in logistics. We know that there's a high demand for logistics, and a lot of that is Cdl training. I mean, we know that those jobs, I think that there are about 900 possibilities in a 5-county area in terms of CDL employment. If you can get them. So we know as Ivy Tech, we have to get folks trained. We have to have that in multiple locations, and we've just got approved to put one in our Connersville location, and we're very excited about that. And that will service this 5-county area. But what we also know is you don't have to read very many articles to know that they're working very quickly on technology for unmanned products in that area, so that trucks will be on the road. I know that that's kind of scary to think about.
Yes, it is.
But,
Thank you very much.
But if I had told you your groceries would be delivered by a drone, 5 years ago, we were having this conversation, you'd think that's scary too. And so anyway, we're moving quickly. Mm-hmm. If we are not thinking about putting CDL programs in a variety of locations right now, and also not having the conversation about 5 to 10 years when those positions will be moved out, and it will be about management, and it will be about the logistics of it. So we have to have that conversation now of what does the future look like? And it goes back to that idea of what does IT look like in that area, because that will be the growth sector within that sector.
The jobs of mechanics will change altogether, because
Absolutely.
now you have all these computer systems within the driverless system.
And it has to be our job as the community college to listen, and listen well to our community and our employers, but also to be well versed in what we see coming from each of these industries. It's to pay attention to those sectors and not to be afraid of that conversation. Because if you say, well, that's really a scary subject and we're not going to talk about it, and we don't want to talk about it because we know that there are folks that are employed being truck drivers that certainly down the road, but that industry is going to change. You have to have that conversation as well, and I think that's the lead role of a community college.
Is what they're doing, is what all of our educational institutions, Ivy Tech, IU East, Earlham College, Purdue Polytechnic, are they on track with what they're teaching, the programs they have, to make your job, I don't want to say easier, but in some ways easier when you're talking to that next tier of manufacturer that has those $55,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year jobs that we don't necessarily have a ton of here right now, but people are looking for. People are leaving this community. They're living here, but they're driving out of this community to get those jobs. Are they on track, and what are the numbers that you need to see change in order to feel comfortable going to those type of manufacturers to bring them here?
Well, enrollment in engineering programs certainly needs to increase. We have a shortage of engineers in the area, but that's a lot on the individual to want to go into those programs. So I think we have the right programs between Ivy Tech and Purdue. It's just helping students understand the career opportunities here locally and then keeping them here versus once they graduate looking outside of the area. But I would say absolutely our local educational institutions have the right programs and are making steps to evaluate what programs are needed not only now into the future. I mean, there's not a site visit that occurs that I don't have Chad Bolser and Kim Thurlow in my boardroom making sure that they're demonstrating what Ivy Tech is doing in order to make sure that they have the number of graduates coming out of their programs to support the workforce that a prospect may need. So those conversations are being had. I think it's a constant process that we have to always work on. I know that the work through what was used to be called the corporate college,
Sure.
now the non-credit side,
right.
you know, that's a very dynamic group that can change and evolve training programs and tailor them to meet a company's needs. So we know we have that flexibility here to be able to put together a training package that's specific not only to an industry but to a company's needs.
Is manufacturing matters an area that is still viable, growing, changing, and is it still what it was designed to be a few years ago when it came up?
Well, I'm not sure that, I think by design, it is not what it was designed to be a few years ago.
That's
I think
right.
that has been, what has been very clear about that program is it is based upon the partners, the employer partners, and what they have asked that program to do. So it certainly has changed. I think the original idea was that we opened up and whoever would come into the program would come in. It has taken more of a business, employer-specific opportunity where folks are training within the confines of or offering that program within the confines of their own employment. We found that to be pretty successful. Mm-hmm. The open general come one, come all sort of model is not as effective as we would like it to be. Although early on it was, mm-hmm. It certainly is now specific as we know that we can tailor exactly what that employer needs for that. Mm-hmm. But I do think this is a perfect example of how we're evolving through that. We see that these short-term certification programs are a good, small, slow trickle way of addressing a need. Mm-hmm. But on the other end, we've instituted something called Achieve Your Degree, and it is a packaged format for employers who, quite honestly, have money that they want to invest in their employees, for them to go back and get the training to elevate their position, to have better jobs within their own company, to invest, to retain and recruit the best talent. Mm-hmm. And we know that those dollars go unused all the time. And so we're trying to tailor make those packages so that an employer can say, okay, Ivy Tech, we want you to come out here, we're going to sign up anybody that's interested, and then we will make sure that they get the right classes in order to obtain the training or the degree that employer wants. That's a slow process in order to address a certain portion of the need. And I think the message for everyone out here that listens about this, us talk about the employment or the jobs, the answer is there's not one answer. There's a multitude of answers. We just have to make sure that whatever portion of that we play in this, that we're communicating the same thing, mm-hmm. the need for trained workforce and folks to be involved, to be active, to be engaged, and to provide as many opportunities as possible. And so we think that's the model. There's no one, all of a sudden we're not going to say, although Val's very compelling, and I'm sure that anybody listening, but there's not one thing that she's going to say that all of a sudden 10,000 people are going to show up mm-hmm. The next day for whatever. Right. It's a slow process, and you have to be you have to be okay, and you have to be excited about small victories that move you towards that final goal.
You all have some express enrollment coming up as you push that
Yeah.
toward the beginning
Yeah.
of it. What's coming up with
Well,
Ivy Tech?
we called over 1,000 folks last night, and in about 3.5 hours, which was a lot of fun. But we had an express enrollment today, which we don't have the final numbers, but we probably enrolled about 100 folks today, and then we'll have one on Saturday from 9 until 3, and you can go out there. It's a statewide. We're doing it in every location across the state. And so we're very excited about that. We also are going to have, we think, some really exciting news coming out of the state about some opportunities that will probably fall later on into the second 8 weeks programming. But it does address this maybe as a state level of this idea of educating the workforce and getting the training. Now those things are kind of in the planning stages, but we're I think one of the things that folks should know about Ivy Tech is we would love for you to be there for August 21st, but there are many opportunities. There are 12-week classes, there are 8-week classes, 4-week classes. There are opportunities all along through the semester, so don't hesitate to contact us, and then we'll walk you through those processes.
We talked about how important, how many people there are. Something that kind of slipped through that I saw. Governor appoints LaPorte Mayor Blair Milo as the Secretary's first Career Connections and Talent Secretary. I thought that was kind of interesting. The Secretary of Career Connections and Talent will be the Chief Executive Officer of the State Personnel Department, will assume oversight of the agency and its as its director. The Secretary will be responsible for connecting Hoosiers with employers and filling the estimated 1 million job openings over the next 10 years in the state of Indiana. So that's a new position that's being created, kind of again, making that connection between the employer, knowing that everybody's not where they need to be from a physical standpoint.
I think it was not too long ago that if you would have had this discussion, probably 5 years ago, I think people would have pounded the table and said, we need more jobs, more companies, more this, more that. And you knew, I think folks knew about it, but I don't think we openly talked about it, that the crisis and the biggest concern is the workforce. Can we fill all of those jobs that folks work so hard to create? And can we do it with the type of talent that not only will be good at their job, but will also be the type of talent that will be trained into larger and larger capacities within the organization. I think it's a struggle for every employer, but I think people are laser focused on this, from the governor to, I think it has been a local issue for a while. I think now it's within the statewide conscious, and it's not a Wayne County problem or a Fayette County problem. It is a statewide problem. It's everywhere, but there are worse problems to have. But we just need to make sure that we're focused on what we need to be focused on.
I know you've been excited about Sue Ellspermann being the president. I know I heard her speak on this a couple of times before she ever took the Ivy Tech job. I think as lieutenant governor, this is something that was a focus of hers. So it seems that step into Ivy Tech actually worked out very well for her, because she's actually from a manufacturing background.
Yeah, she worked at Frito-Lay and and certainly had a very big career, but was a consultant at one point for creative problem solving within manufacturing.
She has an engineering degree too,
right?
right?
From Purdue, and her PhD, and so quite a resume, and somewhere along the line became a state legislator and a lieutenant governor. So it is certainly an exciting time for Ivy Tech, and I think the reason that it's exciting, the focus, and I think she said it in the press release about the reorganization, where the community is the single most important part in that Ivy Tech Community College. It is the community. What does the community need? What does it demand from us? And if we cannot answer that question on a daily basis, if I can sit here, we've divided, when I say we've divided programs into quadrants, if I can't answer those questions, then I'm not doing my job. And we have a wonderful team at Ivy Tech that has to continually answer, are we meeting the need for Wayne County and for the 5 counties that we serve?
I appreciate you being here. I know we didn't get you in as early as I thought we would, but you mentioned Valerie being compelling.
Absolutely,
They're telling me
yeah.
right here, we're over halfway through, and I'm going.
I sat in the green/white room,
Yes.
and was and I listened to every word. So I was taking notes the whole time.
Oh, sure.
Thanks for being here. We'll have you back. Chad Bolser, Chancellor of Ivy Tech, Richmond, Connersville. Valerie Shaffer, President, Wayne County EDC. Thank you very much for being here. I wanted to leave myself a couple of minutes because we were talking about the beginning of school and people disappearing and students going back, and we've had some here this summer that have been incredibly important to us, and I want to make sure that I have a chance to thank those young people because they have come back and provided this area with their talent. Caitlin Terrell, who is already probably back on campus at Olivet Nazarene in Illinois, has been with us kind of doing an unofficial internship. We appreciate her coming in. You'll see her work in a couple of different things, including tomorrow night on WCTV at 9:30, the RCS State of the Schools program. She recorded, did the editing on that program, and you'll see her work on a couple of other things. Matt Carson, who is a graduate of Northeastern High School and is going to be going into his junior year at Ball State, has spent his third summer with us. He was also with us during his senior year at Northeastern. You see his handiwork on a lot of different things, including most recently, he was the person who created the opening for the new Access to the Arts program, which we run on WETV. Also, if you ever watch our Third Sector program or the Brain Mechanics program, he was the brainchild of those opening and closing credit compositions, so he has done a lot of work with us. Zach Watson, who is going to be in the graduate program, majoring mostly in film at Ball State University, is back with us for, I don't know, I think it's his third year also. Centerville High School graduate. We appreciate his support coming back. You see his handiwork in a lot of things, including our WCTV viewfinder. We've started doing a video viewfinder this summer. He's been doing those, and also you should be seeing over the next couple of months some short vignettes from Wayne County Historical Museum. He's been working with Jim Harlan on those. And out with us now, Joe Hunsaker, who is who is a Ball State student, another Centerville High School grad, who is actually out with Ryan Harris this evening working on this show. And Joe is very interested in community media, so hopefully we can have him with us for a period of time. But I wanted to thank those young people for coming back and sharing their talent with the community. A couple of things I want to remind you about. I mentioned you were here talking about Richmond Civic Theater. They have their opening. Fiddler on the Roof is coming up this weekend. Box office 9/62/1816. Tickets still available? Question mark?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
you can still get tickets. Opens up 4th, 5th, and 6th, August 11th, 12th, and 13th. Neighborhood Movie Night tomorrow night. School of Rock is going to be playing. That film begins at dusk. Something else from the Richmond Parks Department. Lots of things going on this weekend, including downtown, up around Elstro Plaza. They've got the farmers market that will be going on, and you will also, you all have a big event also coming up this weekend.
Party outside on 10th and Main. It's kind of become an annual event for RCT, and so we're going to be doing that. There'll be all kinds of downtown activities, and there will be performances on the street, and so lots of stuff.
Okay. So check all of that out going on in the downtown area. Next week, Eric Van Vliet will be here with the new director of Cope Environmental Center and Roger Richard. We appreciate you watching. Be sure to check this out at 10:30 this evening. Have a good night.
Hi, Phil Quinn. I'm your host for Access to the Arts, a new program here on WCTV. We're going to learn about the history of the Murray Theater. We'll also talk to some cast members about the upcoming show and the season as a whole.
And that's the exciting thing for us. Sometimes you go from the big exciting, fun musical or family-oriented musical to a drama that's going to take you to a whole different place.
Catch Access to the Arts on Channel 20 WETV.
You are watching Whitewater Government Television, Channel 11.